Are 23 time-tested and experience-backed strategies to help you get shredded in 2026. And make sure you stick around, especially for number 21, because that makes everything else flow together. Number one, reverse engineer your timeline. You can lose 1 to 2 pounds of fat per week, maybe a little bit more if you have excessive weight that you need to lose. But if you push it faster than that, you're going to lose a lot of lean tissue as well. And what you're going to see is some level of metabolic downregulation. So what you should do is reverse engineer your timeline. 1 to 2 pounds a week. How many pounds you need to lose? 10 or 20 pounds? Great. You're probably looking at 12 to 16 weeks with the right plan dialed in. Once you reverse engineer your timeline, you now have a clear-cut direction where you need to go, which will allow you to stay consistent. Most people never reverse engineer their timeline and they start to change diets, change programs way too often and end up self-sabotaging. So understand how fast you can lose weight and then reverse engineer the process from there. Number two, do not diet more aggressively than a 30% deficit. After about 4 to 6 weeks at a 30% deficit, if you're even dialed in with sleep, stress, recovery, high protein intake, training correctly, you're going to experience some level of metabolic downregulation. You're going to potentially have a slowdown in terms of thyroid function. You're going to have an increase in cortisol, actually a decrease in testosterone. Plus, your body will actually instinctively start to reduce the amount of movement you're having throughout the day, which is going to decrease your calorie expenditure. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is just holding the same consistent calorie deficit throughout time. What we have to understand is your metabolism, it functions like a thermostat. When we eat more, it goes up. When we eat less, it goes down. So we need to oscillate between time periods of more aggressive dieting and less aggressive dieting. That's what helps prevent metabolic downregulation. It helps keep you motivated, helps you maintain lean muscle mass throughout the entire duration. But if you're pushing harder than a 30% deficit for more than 4 to 6 weeks, unless you're morbidly obese, you are going to run into a plateau. Number three, here's a basic calorie equation to set things up. Take your body weight in pounds and multiply that by 10. So if you're 200 pounds, 2,000 calories. You want 1 gram of protein per pound of target body weight. So if you want to be 180, have about 180 grams of protein from there. Now, carbs match your protein and your carbohydrate intake. A lot of people will go and just nuke all the carbohydrates out, and you can do that for short periods when it comes to a diet. But long term, your training quality is going to go down and stress is actually going to go up as carbohydrates actually help buffer cortisol and support optimal thyroid function. So it doesn't mean that you can't go low carb, but I typically like to go a little bit higher on the carbohydrates and pull down your fat instead. So when you have the setup, body weight in calories. So when you have the setup, body weight times 10, that's your calories. Target body weight, 1 gram per, so say 180 grams in this case. Carbs, the same as protein, 180, and then the remaining calories will be from fat. There's a lot of individual variability here, but evidence across the board, when you've looked at the meta-analysis, it's very clear that people can lose fat both on higher carb and lower carbohydrate amounts as long as you can control for protein intake and calories. Number four, focus on protein and plants, or as I like to say, foods that came from the ground or at one point had a face. When you do this, you're going to have more minimally processed foods. It's going to be a lot simpler to stay on track with your diet. We typically see that the more processed foods somebody eats, generally speaking, they're going to have a harder time sticking to their overall calories. Stick to single ingredient foods. That is going to simplify everything dramatically. Number four, focus on foods that had a face or came from the ground. When we eat more minimally processed foods, we're going to have foods with higher nutrient density and a lower calorie density, meaning we're going to get all the fiber, vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients that we need to look, feel, and perform our best without overshooting our calories like we would when we're typically consuming a diet full of more highly processed foods. Number five, eat the same foods on repeat at regular times. The more decisions we have to make around food, the more room for error there is going to be. And when we eat at regular times, that's when we can actually get our body set up with regular rhythms to prevent huge cravings at random times of the day. For example, if you're always eating at different time periods, you're going to find yourself with crazy ravenous hunger, which makes it exponentially more likely that you overconsume calories and by extension of that, gain body fat. So eat the same foods on repeat and eat at regular times. As a personal example, I typically rotate through the same things for breakfast, for lunch, and my snack is always the same. The big variability for me, it comes with dinner. That's when I'm with my friends. That's when I'm with my family. But that way, I'm 80% of the way there before I even get to dinner, and I haven't had to think about making the right decision when it comes to food. Number six, ties into the last one, but automate your meals. Eat the same things on repeat. Get 1 or 2 breakfasts and just continue to go through them. If you can afford it, use a meal delivery service. I use something like the Vertical Diet each and every single day. Simple and straightforward. It's a way where I can get a good high quality protein meal high fiber, great overall food quality without breaking the bank or having to make a decision around food. Number 7, remove unhealthy foods. A lot of people will have all the motivation in the world. They do well with their diet for a couple days. Then all of a sudden there's something in the pantry that they reach for. And before you know it, they've downed an entire bag of chips. Listen, if you have unhealthy foods in your environment, you're going to be exponentially more likely to grab them. Much like in the same scenario, if you're trying to be sober, you probably don't want to be at a bar or have a full built-up bar in your living room. You're going to run into issues with making good food choices if that environment is not conducive for you to stay on track. We have to curate your environment. Number 8, increase daily movement. Personally, I like to have a baseline of at least 10,000 steps and going for a 10-minute walk after each meal. What this does, this helps improve what we call postprandial insulin sensitivity. When you go for a walk directly after a meal, your body can partition your nutrients more effectively throughout the rest of your body. And it's a very simple way to be proactive with your movement throughout the day. Number 9, lift weights at least 4 times per week. You want to train to build muscle even during a fat loss time period. One of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to losing body fat is they train to burn calories. And what happens is pretty soon they have short rest periods. They're never actually challenging their muscles to maintain high levels of tension. And so when that happens, if we're not giving our body a reason to hold on to and preserve that lean muscle that we have, well, guess what? It's not going to. So train to build muscle and let your diet be the primary lever when it comes to losing body fat. Speaking of training, number 10, make sure that your exercises are 80% compound exercises focused on the major movement patterns. And so what am I talking about here? Number 1, the squat movement pattern. You can do any type of squat. It can be a goblet squat, a back squat, front squat, Zercher squat, heck, even a leg press if that's the most comfortable for you. Hinge, you want to be deadlifting, Romanian deadlift, hip thrust, kettlebell swing, single leg RDL, press, push up, bench press, incline bench, overhead press, pull, row, pull up, cable roll, barbell bent over row, inverted row, lunges, Bulgarian split squats, reverse lunges, step ups. There are a lot of different variations. The biggest thing you need to understand here is focus on the exercises that will give you the most bang for your buck. You want to focus on the exercises that will recruit the most amount of muscle mass possible and require the most amount of focus. When we do these exercises and continue to push strength, continue to push muscle in a fat loss diet environment, then guess what? We're going to be able to preserve that lean muscle mass and we're going to get more efficient with our training long term. If we can teach our body how to produce movement. Number 11, staying on the training side, focus on 4 to 6 exercises per workout, 3 to 4 sets of 5 to 8 reps on the first exercise, and then gradually increase your stuff from there. So for example, let's say you have a leg day. Perhaps the first exercise that you do is going to be something activation based. So we'll say it's going to be a box jump, 3 sets of 5. But then as we get into the strength work, it could be 3 sets of 6 to 8 reps on a barbell back squat. Now, because we've done something now that's a little bit heavier and we haven't had a big compound exercise, we can start to increase the reps on the subsequent exercises. What this does, it allows us to take the activation that comes directly from a strength exercise and then have more metabolic stress, aka the pump, in subsequent exercises. So let's say you go box jump, then you go squat. Next exercise, it could be a split squat for 3 sets of 8. Then the fourth exercise could be, let's say, a single leg dumbbell Romanian deadlift, 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps. And then we want to finish things off with a finisher. Great. Maybe we're going to hit something like a dumbbell goblet squat, and we're going to go 3 sets of 20 with a 60-second rest period to finish things off. When we do this, we're hitting a variety of different training stimuli and muscle fiber types, which is going to allow us to build strength, burn a few more calories, but also keep the workouts fresh and challenging. Number 12, if you want to be athletic, if you want a body that performs as good as it looks once you get shredded, I would incorporate some level of jump and throw directly into your training. Personally, I like to do things like squat jumps, box jumps, overhead medicine ball slams, because when we do these with the intent of generating as much force as humanly possible, we're activating what are called fast twitch muscle fibers. These are our type 2 muscle fibers. After the age of 30, we start to lose these. This is why you see a lot of athletes are over the hill after about 30 years old, because they start to lose a little bit of that natural twitchiness. And even if we're not elite level athletes, we still want to be able to maintain that capacity, because these are the muscle fibers that are most responsible, A, for generating strength, generating power, and generating explosiveness. But long term, that's the ability to snap your foot in front of yourself when you step on a curb and not fall and eat shit. So from a long-term health perspective, it's also important to train some level of explosive training, but we have to keep it joint friendly. Number 13, sip on electrolytes. I swear this is an absolute game changer. Maybe because I'm in South Carolina and often train when it's 95 degrees outside and it's hot as shit, But if you are lean, if you are going even lower carbohydrate and lower calorie when it comes to your diet, you're going to notice that you struggle to get a pump. And when this happens, we have suboptimal blood flow when it comes to our muscles, our joints, tendons, ligaments, all of this stuff. Sometimes it's going to be harder to have a really productive workout. I find that being very hydrated and then sipping on electrolytes, such as LMNT or even Noon tablets, will provide an exponentially more efficient workout. Plus, from an energy perspective, when you have proper hydration, it's going to make you feel a lot better when energy is typically a little bit lower in a fat loss environment. Number 14, here's all you need to know about supplements when it comes to fat loss. Treat protein powder like a food. During your training, have 30 grams of highly branched cyclic dextrin. This is going to dramatically improve your overall workout capacity and recovery. It's important to know that your immune system is suppressed when you're in a fat loss deficit. So your workout carbohydrates can actually help buffer that cortisol and make sure your immune system stays strong so you're not getting those annoying colds, getting sick when you're cutting down. Take 3 grams of fish oil per day. This is great for overall cardiovascular function and heart health. 5,000 IUs of vitamin D, I would say year round. 5 grams of creatine per day. Creatine is going to be great because it's going to help you stay focused. It's going to help give you a little bit more energy. It's going to help you maximize your performance even when you're in a calorie restricted state. And then 400 milligrams of magnesium. I would say magnesium glycinate or magnesium threonate. This will fill in nutritional gaps, support training and health, while also helping you relieve stress, which again is typically elevated when we are in a calorie restricted environment. Number 15, sleep 7 hours per night. Sleep is the foundation of stress management and hormonal health. Here's one of my favorite methods. It's called the 10-3-2-1-0 sleep method, which I learned from my mentor, Craig Ballantyne. 10 hours before bed, cut out your caffeine. 3 hours before bed, stop eating so your body can actually rest and digest. 2 hours before bed, stop working, get away from the computer, put Zoom out, all of that stuff. 1 hour before bed, turn down the electronics or at least wear some blue blockers. I would recommend taking your phone and locking it up. And then the 0 means 0 times you will hit snooze the very next day. Number 16, reduce alcohol to less than 5 drinks per week. Honestly, 0 is better. And I'm somebody who likes to enjoy a drink. But anything that you do in terms of cutting down on alcohol is going to help dramatically. It's going to improve your hormones. It's going to improve your sleep. It's going to reduce your binging. It's going to actually improve the overall neurotransmitter function in your brain, which is going to allow you to stay motivated, focused, and proactively reduce stress yourself without needing a coping mechanism. So again, I'm not here to tell you how to adult and how not to, but if you can take alcohol as close to 0, it's going to have a huge impact in terms of body composition and getting shredded in 2026. Number 17, meditate daily. 3 to 10 minutes is fine. I typically recommend something like the Calm app or the Headspace app. This allows you to do a guided meditation each and every single day. Over time, meditation is a proven way to help reduce overall stress levels. It's going to help you become more proactive and frankly, forward thinking, get away from cravings and some of those things that have probably pulled you by the wayside when it comes to losing body fat. One beneficial thing you can do as well is go for walks without your phone, without external stimuli. Being able to get out and truly relieve that stress, called a walking meditation, is a game changer. Number 18, write down 3 things that you're grateful for each and every single day. Gratitude helps reduce stress and enhances overall well-being. When we have a regular gratitude practice, it allows us to measure progress by looking backwards from where we came instead of comparing ourselves to everybody else on social media that we see, which is 100% unrealistic and terrible for our mental health. So have gratitude. Look at 3 things that are going well each day, and then measure your progress by looking backward at where you're coming from versus what everybody else is doing. Number 19, eliminate negative people, porn, time wasters, and distractions. You have to protect your headspace at all costs. Stress is systemic, meaning the stress that we get from watching the news, from getting cut off in traffic, from an argument with your spouse, this all hits the overall system, right? And so when stress increases, here's what happens when it comes to fat loss. Number 1, we typically lose motivation. When cortisol increases, decision-making goes down. We typically have more cravings and we're going to be more likely to reach into them. When it comes to our overall physiology, increased levels of stress, they're going to decrease thyroid function. It actually decreases insulin sensitivity, so how well your body handles carbohydrates, and long-term testosterone can also be suppressed. So if we think about it, stress is both undermining what we're doing from a physiological perspective, and it's giving us more cravings that have us more likely to do things that are incongruent with the goals that we've set. That's a perfect formula to fall off track when it comes to fat loss. Number 20, chase consistency, not perfection. If you mess up, you got to have this short memory and get right back on track. I remember being an athlete, being a cornerback, and when you make a mistake as a cornerback and somebody beats you, everybody knows, right? But you can't let that carry over into the next play and into the next. You have to be able to shut things off and go right for the next one. People who are successful when it comes to fat loss, they realize that they're not going to be perfect. They realize they're going to have a meal that's off. Maybe they miss a workout, whatever it is. You can't let one bad decision spiral into a bad day, into a bad week, into a bad month. That's where people run into issues. When people have this all or nothing black and white approach to fat loss, guess what? They typically fail because they view everything as a pass fail. The reality is success when it comes to losing body fat and getting shredded, it comes in the gray area, not being perfect. So have that short memory. Give yourself a little bit of grace and you will be much more likely to be successful. Number 21, this is absolutely crucial. The best plan for fat loss is the one that you are going to stick to, even when life is chaotic. Not the best one on paper when the circumstances are absolutely perfect, the best one that you will stick to consistently. We have seen across the board that almost every single type of diet, it can work, but it only works if you can stay consistent. And so we can argue all we want about intermittent fasting versus 4 meals a day, high carb versus low carb, all of these different talking points that we see. The most important thing is we're creating a consistent calorie deficit. We're eating better quality food. We're getting enough protein. And if we do that, we can eat in any number one of these different strategies. It's going to come down to what you can stick to long term and something that's truly built for you. So don't get wound up trying to find the next perfect approach or the next perfect diet. Find what works, find what you can stick to. And ultimately, 95% of the results that come from any diet are coming down to the overall fat loss that it creates, right? So it's the fat loss itself, not the mechanism, whether it's like, more autophagy because we're intermittent fasting or anything else. It comes from the overall fat loss. So losing that fat, that's the most important thing. Number 22, stop waiting, start doing. Listen, you're always busy. There's always going to be something else. There's always going to be another program, another obstacle that gets in the way. Frankly, waiting for the perfect time is a weak ass excuse and it keeps people fat, out of shape, and it has them lose their confidence. You're consistently reinforcing that belief that you need to be dialed in that regard, that you need the perfect circumstance to be healthy. But we all know that that's not going to happen, right? So you're much better off taking imperfect action, learning how to be lean, how to be healthy, how to do all of these things, even when life is chaotic, because now you're equipped with the skill set needed to stay healthy when life is chaotic. Yet that makes it so much easier when life actually does calm down to be able to stay on track. So take action anyway. Number 23, commit to the process and divorce yourself from the outcome. So many people wonder, hey, am I losing fat fast enough? Am I doing this fast enough? Am I seeing this result fast enough? People will dramatically overestimate what they can accomplish in a short period of time and dramatically underestimate what they can do over the course of a longer time period. And when it comes to fat loss, impatience is the number one thing that fucks people up. When you're impatient, it's going to prevent you from sticking with the plan. When you consistently change what you're doing in the gym, in the kitchen, with your lifestyle, you're never going to find what truly works for you, and you're always searching for the next thing. So be rigid with the standards that you set for yourself, be flexible with the timeline. And when you're consistently taking action on the right things, you can't help but be successful. But it requires persistence, it requires patience and the dedication to getting that job done. Now, hey, hopefully you enjoyed these 23 strategies to get shredded in 2026. Do me a favor, drop your favorite one in the comment below. And if you want to learn a little bit more, head right to the description right now. I'm going to break down the next things that you need to do in order to look right naked without living in the gym. All right, I'll catch you on the next video.